Hello, my name is Doug Dooley. I work for Data Theorem, and I'm coming to you from API Days here in Paris. My presentation is called Cloud or External APIs with ChatGPT-4 Turbo and Attack Path Visualization. The main area my presentation will focus on is AI innovations bringing new attacks to enterprise APIs. So there are three main things that we're going to try to tackle in today's topic. One is how the playground has changed for APIs. AI innovations are making it easier to find new data insights, and the barriers and costs are dropping significantly for API experimentation. Data, in the second topic, is data is the AI fuel, and it has always been AI fuel, and APIs are the new charging stations to drive that AI. Gen AI proliferation is going to accelerate significantly in 2024 and beyond, and we are very confident AI data consumption will absolutely explode alongside AI assistance creation. Lastly, the sort of third topic that we're going to tackle is API security and how applications, data, and supply chain software discovery must evolve. Context is becoming so necessary when it comes to API and data safety. Attack path visualization, we believe, is going to help with security and privacy. So any professional tasked with helping around security and privacy, the attack path visualization is going to be substantial going forward. So how has the playground changed for APIs? So first of all, if you've been paying attention to OpenAI, there's been a lot of drama in the news over the past few weeks, with Sam Altman being asked to leave by the board of directors and then him returning back as CEO and then exiting those board of directors and a new board forming. There's been a lot of drama and speculation of what's going on there from a leadership perspective. But I think it's been very clear Microsoft has been the stabilizing factor. That partnership with Microsoft has made OpenAI extremely stable financially and also just as a corporation, as an organization. And what Sam said on November 7th during his first OpenAI conference at Dev Days, he talked about the Assistance API and how it would make everything easier. And then he turned it over to one of his colleagues, Ramon, who talked about data retrieval, specifically using APIs to retrieve lots of information and knowledge and using your own functions, multiple functions simultaneously, to make these assistants significantly better. So if you go to the playground today, which is what OpenAI provides on their platform, you can play around and create your own assistants. I've made several. I have kids in high school, so I have created math tutors, and they've been telling me that these math tutor assistants are better than paying for a human math tutor assistant, substantially better actually. So those are very easy to create math tutors on very specific math topics using this playground model. I've also created HR chatbots, where if you had a chatbot that can just answer questions about HR, you can supply it a PDF with the employee handbook or a PDF with all of your medical benefits or 401k benefits. But using these sort of PDFs and just hooking it into a chatbot, you can create a very narrow focused chatbot to answer questions just on HR. So I've created both of those. But what I tried to create was an API hacking assistant, and unfortunately I failed. I was not able to do it with ChatGPT 3.0, which is when Playground first launched. And as you see here in this error message that I've highlighted and enlarged in red, is that ultimately it does not support external APIs in that current iteration. And this is again 1 year ago. So what did you have to do for this past year using something like, if you wanted to hack into an API, search for information, hunt for PII, sensitive data? There are a lot of variety of enterprise security tools you could use. So one of them, of course, is Data Theorem's API Secure. So we have a utility, hack and extract, which is one of our hacker toolkits. And you can hook up any API target or a list of targets or Postman files or open API specs, and you can provide keys or not provide keys, and it will start to hack into those APIs. You can also use cloud data security platforms like Telescope. There are a variety of tools that you can use, many tools where you can really go after APIs and hunt for them. But this is sort of enterprise grade, not exactly the playground that you're thinking about. However, looking at this announcement, we're just going to show a quick 2-minute video of how functions and retrieval, that combination, has really taken the playground to a new level when it comes to APIs.
So we can return to the app and try that in action. If I say, hey, let's go to Paris. All right, that's it. With just a few lines of code, users can now have a very specialized assistant right inside the app. And I'd like to highlight one of my favorite features here, function calling. If you have not used it yet, function calling is really powerful. And as Sam mentioned, we're taking it a step further today. It now guarantees the JSON output with no added latency, and you can invoke multiple functions at once for the first time. So here, if I carry on and say, hey, what are the top 10 things to do? We're gonna have the assistant respond to that again. And here, what's interesting is that the assistant knows about functions, including those to annotate the map that you see on the right. And so now all of these pins are dropping in real time here. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And that integration allows our natural language interface to interact fluidly with components and features of our app. And it truly showcases now the harmony you can build between AI and UI, where the assistant is actually taking action. But next, let's talk about retrieval. And retrieval is about giving our assistant more knowledge beyond these immediate user messages. In fact, I got inspired and I already booked my tickets to Paris. So I'm just gonna drag and drop here this PDF. While it's uploading, I can just sneak peek at it. Very typical United flight ticket. And behind the scene here, what's happening is that retrieval is reading these files, and boom, the information about this PDF appeared on the screen.
So as you can see, the combination of functions with retrieval, data retrieval, has taken, and their ability to support external APIs like API keys or OAuth 2.0 workflow, and even Azure AD, which has now been renamed Microsoft Entra. But the idea here is that if you have APIs and you have keys to get into those APIs, these assistants can go wild. I mean, it's incredible what we're going to be able to see now with all these assistants. And they've also created an app store, an AI store, where these assistants will be posted so other people can build things and you can take them and then develop on top of them. So this is about to become unleashed, in 2024 and beyond. And so as you see here, my API hacking assistant has just gone to a new level. I sent that same API to it with the same key, and it was able to find 42 instances of PII data. Not too differently as what you saw with Data Theorem and Telescope, but this is different because this is me just playing around. And so having that ability to play and innovate and experiment, this is changing how we're going to start to interact with APIs going forward. And to take it one step further, the cost of ChatGPT-4, it's fairly expensive in comparison to, previous versions of ChatGPT, but they've lowered it by 2 to 3x. So even this level of experimentation, I spent about 25 to 35 cents with this particular API hacking assistant example. And that's really just a tip of the iceberg of lowering that barrier and allowing people to, again, experiment with APIs. So now, second topic here is data is the AI fuel, and APIs are the charging stations. As Elon has pointed out just a couple of days ago at the New York Times Dealbook Summit, he said on stage, data is probably more valuable than gold. That might be a big reason why he bought Twitter and renamed it X, is some of the data that he has on that platform is very interesting. So if you look at it from a growth perspective, OpenAI in just 1 year has seen 4,543% of growth. They're on pace to have $1.3 billion in revenue, which is incredible if you think about it. Very few companies have ever seen a level of growth at that rate. And you can see that this is a game changer. What AI is able to do to automate, to simplify, to make tasks easier, this is huge, right? 37x year over year in revenue. We'll see if they'll be able to keep up with that level of pace. but again, there is a lot of opportunity here, and a lot of people are getting involved. So let's make sure we reset on basic AI concepts. So today, ChatGPT, almost everybody knows, everybody's tried. It's one of many AI apps. Copilot on GitHub is another example, and there are many more, and we're going to continue to see many more going forward. It's using a large language model, but as Microsoft has been talking quite a lot, there are small language models that really kind of narrow the scope of what these AIs are smart on, and that's going to change things too going forward. And that's really the foundational models. How many different types of models will come out, we'll see, but it all sort of fits into this broader perspective around Gen AI, which is driving, that many folks think, toward a place around AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, where you have the combination of broad and deep intelligence. Now, there's lots of different ways to define AGI, but really what you want to know is how far are we from that being a reality? And so Elon also on that same conference talked about AGI being defined as smarter than the smartest human at anything. He believes it's less than 3 years away. Now, whether that's true or not, maybe he's off by a factor of 3, and maybe it's closer to 9 years away. That's still within the reach of our lifetime, which is incredible just to think of it that way. And of course, if you think corporations that have deep motivation to make this happen will drive the speed, well, he said, look, not-for-profit OpenAI is what I, named it and helped start it, right? Open being open source. It should be renamed super closed source for maximum profit AI. So he's taking a shot at, one of the organizations that he helped start. But with that kind of profit and that kind of speed, you could see that this is going to accelerate very quickly. But data is the key to that acceleration, and using these APIs to get more and more data is where the motivation is going to be to kind of really solve practical problems. And Satya Nadella has done a great job at Microsoft from my view, and he went on stage just a couple of weeks ago at Ignite 2023, which is Microsoft's big conference. And one of the big themes he talked about is that this is the era of co-pilots. We are now in the era of co-pilots, and he's really talking about how making the age of AI very real for people and businesses everywhere. And so, if you're in the business of protecting data and protecting your APIs, there are many executives who've been, interviewed by Gartner and about the risks, do the benefits of AI outweigh the risks of AI? And it seems overwhelmingly true that the benefits outweigh the risks from most people's perspectives. And obviously nothing catastrophic has ever occurred from AI, but we're still very early on in this journey. And so what is the key to unlock that proverbial genie from the bottle? A lot of that key is proprietary data. Often enterprise proprietary data will unlock these kind of mini genies from those bottles. And so when you think about who's holding a lot of the keys, Active Directory has had a historical hold on enterprise and identity and access control. And Azure AD has always been this crown jewel for Microsoft and Microsoft's ambitions in the cloud. You combine that now with OAuth 2 support and Azure AD support, Microsoft is sitting in a situation where they can really give keys out to lots of organizations who depend on Active Directory and to unlock lots of new data sources, and not just APIs, but also applications. And so when we think about defending enterprise APIs and defending those apps, we often have frameworks like OAuth's top 10 around API security. So you get these sort of descriptions and keys and, red, yellow, green, what's the priority? And it's often sort of this kind of old school, spreadsheet style of rows and columns of information. But that often doesn't tell the story that we're really trying to understand of what is the overall impact? What is the business impact? It lacks context. And so when you have an API exploit and a vulnerability, so what? What does that really matter? It really matters if there's a data breach. And if the data breach occurs, then that's really the challenge. And so when you look forward is how do you visualize the API connective tissue? And when you look at that, you kind of need that MRI that can see through the whole landscape of what's going on between the APIs, the applications, and the data that it has access to. That is sort of missing today in the current API frameworks that we have. So our view is really transparency can improve security, answering the big who, what, when, how questions, and providing visual context, almost like an MRI, for APIs. And so that transparency can really improve security in our view. And this is why we put forth this idea of attack path visualization. We're the first company to really do it in the API security space. And what you're seeing here is, yes, you're seeing API exploit information. You'll see these vulnerabilities highlighted, but it will put it into the context of what are the cloud assets that it's touching? What are the relationships between these APIs? What are the analytics behind it? What is the identity access management controls that are in place for it? What are the changes that have been occurring? In the past, who's been accessing it? What asset groups do these APIs and this in full application stack, who are the owners? And then from this, you really can tell a visual story in very quick amount of time that you can share it on a Slack message, get people involved, and everybody can start to see the broader context of what an exploit could occur. So that to us is like an MRI for API, not just relationship, but really the security and the attack path that those APIs can have. So look, there's a lot of API security leaders in the space. We don't want to presume Data Theorem is the only one in the space, but look, there's been an interesting report that just came out about talking about not just pure play API security vendors like Data Theorem, but tried and true API gateway vendors that you've heard of like Google Apigee, and then WAF and WAP vendors like Imperva or Akamai and Cloudflare. There's lots of different players in the space around API security. We're not the only ones. But there really is a positive growing ecosystem around API security, and we should learn more about it. So if you haven't, check out this new research that Cupperrule had. Alexi did a great job putting together one of the most comprehensive analyst reports on the broad API security and management landscape. We definitely recommend checking that out. Again, just came out about less than 2 months ago, just a couple weeks ago. And with that, come see us at the booth. We're at booth 5, and we'd love to talk to you more about API security and this attack path visualization. Thank you so much.